What if the richest people alive had one habit so powerful they swore never to speak of it? Not a stock portfolio, not a morning routine, not a philosophy book on a mahogany shelf. Something quieter, something darker, something so dangerous to their edge they buried it in silence. This is the story of Marcus Vale and what he discovered at the bottom of the worst week of his life. Marcus was 28, brilliant in ways his company had never bothered to notice. He lived in a modest apartment on the east side of the city, 1 hour from the financial district. Every morning, he passed the same glass tower on his commute, silver, cold, impossibly tall. And every morning, the same quiet thought moved through him. One day that building will know my name. One morning became 1 year. 1 year became 3, and the tower stayed silent. Marcus worked a job that paid just enough to keep him from leaving. He sat between colleagues who talked louder, smiled wider, dressed sharper. He was invisible in the most exhausting way, present, capable, and completely overlooked. Then one Tuesday afternoon, the announcement came through the department email. His junior colleague Daniel, who had been in the role for 8 months, had received the promotion Marcus spent 2 years building. Every person in that office went quiet and looked at Marcus, waiting, watching, expecting him to break. Marcus smiled, nodded once, and returned to his screen. But that night, alone in his apartment, the mask came off. He opened a bottle of whiskey he hadn't planned to touch. He spent $412 online in 47 minutes. Things he would never use. He typed 3 messages he would deeply regret by morning, and then he sat in silence, staring at his hands, asking himself one question. Why do I always destroy what I've built, right at the moment it starts to matter? The next morning, there was a plain brown package on his desk. No return address, no postage marks. Inside, your matte black card. 3 words printed in white. Watch your silence. Marcus laughed, slid it into his jacket pocket, forgot about it, until 3 days later, when he reached into that pocket and couldn't put the card back down. That same week, a woman walked into his office building. Her name was Alara Stone, 63 years old. No introduction needed, no jewelry, no watch, no designer coat, no handbag, nothing that announced her. And yet, every executive in that building adjusted their posture when she passed. She had asked very quietly to meet the man who didn't react when his promotion was taken. She sat across from Marcus in a small glass meeting room and placed a worn leather journal on the table between them. I have kept this journal for 31 years, she said. Every entry is an emotion I refuse to spend. Marcus leaned forward. What does that mean? She opened it. The columns weren't labeled with financial data. They read emotion, intensity, redirected into. Every time I felt envy, she said, I wrote it down and sent it into research instead. Every time I felt fear, I wrote it down and sent it into strategy instead. Every time I felt rage, she said quietly, I wrote it down and I sent it into silence. And the silence over 31 years compounded into something no balance sheet can explain. She called it emotional capital, the invisible ledger, the account no financial advisor has ever shown you. Elora looked at Marcus and said, Tell me what you spent the night of the promotion. Something cold moved through him. $412, he said. She nodded once, slowly. That wasn't spending. That was the wound paying itself. Marcus sat very still. He had no answer for that. She slid the journal across the table toward him. Take it home, she said. Read every entry. Marcus took it home. He read through the night, and on every page, not his name, but his exact pattern, staring back at him. The next morning, he bought his own notebook. Black cover, plain, no lines. Before every decision, he stopped. He wrote first. He asked himself 3 questions. What am I actually feeling right now? What is this feeling costing me? What can I build with it instead? The first month was deeply uncomfortable, like learning to breathe through the chest instead of the throat. The second month was quieter. The noise inside him began to settle. By the 3rd month, something had shifted. Quietly, permanently, without announcement. He stopped spending to manage his emotions. He stopped reacting to feel powerful. He began redirecting the money that had been bleeding out of him for years. Small investments, consistent, emotionless, disciplined in a way that felt almost cold. His portfolio climbed 7%, then 14, then 11 months later, 31%. Not because the market was kind, because he had stopped sabotaging his own entry points with panic. His relationships deepened. Colleagues began consulting him before decisions. Not because he was loud, because he was still. He became the quietest person in every room, and quiet, he discovered, is a form of gravity. People move towards stillness. Money moves towards stillness. Opportunity moves towards stillness. 2 years after the promotion he didn't receive, Marcus Vale received an offer no one had posted. A senior advisory position inside the glass tower he had stared at for 3 years. The call came through Alara. 4 words. They are ready for you. On the morning of his first day, Marcus stood at the entrance of the tower alone. He had imagined this moment 1,000 times. He had rehearsed what it would feel like. He felt none of those things. He felt calibrated, present, exactly where his decisions had brought him. He took the elevator to the 24th floor, walked to his new desk, and sat down. He opened a fresh notebook, uncapped his pen, and wrote one single word. Enough, not finally, not I made it. Just enough. Because knowing you have arrived without needing anyone to confirm it, that too was part of the habit. Here is the twist. The habit was never about money. It was about becoming the kind of person that wealth recognizes and moves toward. Not chasers, not performers, not the loudest voice in the room. People who convert every feeling, every rage, every fear, every longing into a quiet, deliberate decision. Marcus Vale never gave a single interview. He never posted his portfolio, never announced a win. He just kept writing, kept watching his silence, kept converting emotion into capital. And every year, without noise, without performance, without a single announcement, he grew. The half-second pause between feeling and reacting, that is where every fortune is decided. Subscribe to AURUM Mind for more.